This episode of the MSP podcast is brought to you by Big Tex Outdoors. Everything you could possibly need for your firearm. If he doesn't have it, you probably don't need it. And PHLster holsters. Can't do a sub 5-second fast drill? Well, get a PHLster holster. If you still can't, well, at least you know it's not the holster's fault. And primary and secondary, the definitive source for the armed professional and the responsible citizen. Quit your bitching about all the rules and get better.
It is.
Oh,
my
hell yeah.
first podcast ever.
I got the world
Now,
premiere.
I owe you a case of beer now, too.
No, you don't owe me anything. What the thing is, though, is I'm so happy because now at Shooter Symposium, your classes are going to be full because people will know who you are. Hey, guys, welcome to the MSP podcast, nicknamed the Get Better Podcast, where we talk to people who are shining examples of the self-reliant lifestyle. Why do I say the self-reliant instead of the 2A lifestyle? Because it's more than just about GATS, guys. It's about fitness, nutrition, martial arts, and obviously training with firearms. Today, super stoked because I have the world premiere of a Dan Brokos podcast interview. I'm stoked beyond belief, man. This is awesome. So, I'm not even going to attempt to give your background, right? So, Dan, can you tell us a little bit about you?
I retired about a year and a half ago from the military. I did about 26 and a half years in the military. 21 were those in Army SOF. Retired. I've been, teaching on the side since about 2008 with Viking Tactics and a little bit of my own since about 2012. And, I look as, man, I can't give back to the military community anymore. It just time's up. Didn't like my next job, so retired. And now I spend time giving back to the military LE and I hate the civilian community. Anybody who wants to learn and better themselves, that's what I'm doing now.
That was the most humble intro I've ever heard. I think you and Jose Gordon are kind of tied for that stuff. Anyway, but so you were Special Forces, right?
Yes.
Which group were you? Which group were you in, Dan?
10th group.
You were in 10th group, okay. And then
Yep.
One of your what you're also known for is for those people who know you, right? Is you ran Range 37 for a while?
Yes, my only two breaks there were, I believe, I have years all mixed up, 2009, 10, about a year I was the NCOIC of the Sephardic Committee, which is on Range 37, and then 2015, 16, 17, before I retired, I spent almost 3 years as the company sergeant major out there, and that overseeing the Sephardic and the snipers. So those are my only two breaks. But yes, that's where I retired out of and worked. Awesome. Besides being operational, which is great. Never done a desk job, anything like that.
And for the lay people out there, people not in the know, people like Matt Shockey and stuff like that, can you explain what Sephardic is? That's an inside joke, everybody. We may let you in on it later.
Yeah.
Can you explain what Sephardic is within the groups?
Yeah, what it is it's SF Schoolhouse for advanced marksmanship and CQB, and that sounds very simple, but CQB encompasses a lot. I mean, that's explosive breaching, ballistic breaching, aircraft, vehicles. There's a lot into it. It's a 9-week course, and it's about 16 weeks crammed into that 9-week course.
Okay, so kind of a big deal because, I don't know if it was you or someone else. I mean, there are so many things involved within the scope of special forces, right? Training, allied forces, really being nation rebuilders and things of that nature. Everybody think that everyone that gets out of SF, they're just some steely-eyed, barrel-chested sniping shooters and stuff. And that's not really the case. Am I wrong about that? So not every person who's in the groups goes to Sephardic.
No, that you're exactly right on it. They're all great guys. Some guys' forte is skydiving.
Yeah.
That's what they fall in love with and do that. Some guys are language gurus and do onesies and twosie missions their entire time. And then there's some guys who like the shooting aspect of it, and it's a very small percentage that get to go through range 37. And it's where the guys who want to shoot and do that stuff. Not that we're any better than anybody in the soft community out there. It's just a different skill set that you got to attain and achieve.
That's right. For the internet, you guys are not any better than any other soft group. Roger that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So you started to transition, then you started to work with Kyle Lamb a little bit, right? You were one of his main instructors over at Viking Tactics. Am I right or wrong about that?
No, in 2008, we've had him out a couple times to train with us, and my first break from being operational was 2008 to about 2010, 11, somewhere in there. I was still active duty, and I would take leave and help him teach some classes and run some classes for Viking Tactics.
Okay, awesome. So you started doing that, and then you got into some product development as well, right? The funny thing is that every time I mention your name, people are like, where have I heard that before? Well, and I go, well, this, and this. And they're like, no. And I go, the Brokos belt. He's like, oh, that's it. Right? Because that was originally through Viking Tactics and 511 developed that, right? What's a little bit about a history of that? And by the way, I think mine's in the mail. Can't wait to get it. So what was sort of the development of the Brokos belt?
We're on like Gen 3 right now, and it's been out. Here's how it came down is what we're issued wasn't working. And I got an issued belt and cut it all up so it could adapt to 3 or 4 different types of holsters and pistols. With tech locking nowadays, and the military starting to see that, and something easily that it's not an everyday use belt. It was originally designed to carry grenades, machine gun rounds. Mm-hmm. Our battle belt is very extensive. I mean, it's getting slimmer over the years, but when the war first started, you about everything in the kitchen sink on your belt, and just wanted something tough, durable, and be able to exchange with it. That's sort of how it morphed there. I've always had design and kit, and was gonna go work in the industry when I retired to do design and kit and all that stuff. But man, I could do that on my own as well.
Yep. Awesome. So, that's always the interesting thing when anybody brings up things like kit doesn't matter, go buy some more ammo and practice. And I'm like, nah, kit kind of matters. Kit removes obstacles. It's not going to make you better, but it's going to remove obstacles. What are your thoughts on that? And I'm kind of tying that into the development of the Brokos belt, like you were talking about.
I agree with you. I mean, at the end of the day, man, if you don't know what you're doing and you buy a $5,000 race gun, you probably shouldn't start there. But in the end, anything down to do with your belt, your kit, and anything that increases your survivability, which everything does, a good pair of boots, a good jacket that's going to save your ass in a rainstorm or a snowstorm on a mountaintop, man, that increases your survivability. And that's how I look at equipment is survivability is key. But you're right. A lot of badass kit is not going to replace the amount of training you need to put into that badass kit to make it work for you in the end.
Absolutely. So what is your so your classes right now, you do like basically a pistol 1 and a pistol 2, a carbine 1, a carbine 2, and then you do oh, you have to forgive me, Dan. What is the name of your is it unorthodox positions? What's the name of your carbine?
Well, I would call I do. You're right. Accelerated rifle, accelerated pistol. Then I do a combination class, and then my urban gunfighter class. It's just shooting in and around vehicles. With the military, has a little different spin on it, but it's still tactical. People say, "Hey, what do you guys know about vehicles?" Well, I tell you what, we had a fleet of 20 or 30 down there. You got to think unconventional. Nothing says here they come like 8 Gun-Vs in a row. But you got some you got some indigenous operating vehicles in IV or civilian vehicle of any kind. We spent a lot of time training and out of them because you got to know what they can do. And some of ours are armored, some of them weren't. But yeah, long answer to your question, Scott, is the urban gunfighters, a bunch of unorthodox positions, fighting in and around cover, and that course is mainly contingencies. Hey, you're down to one arm with your carbine. You're down to one arm with your pistol. Oh, you're down to one arm at night. And do you have a tape switch on your flashlight? If not, it's not the right answer. We're going to show you how to manipulate it no matter what white light you got. Because when I first started this job, there was no such thing as a tape switch. We were running 4 D-cell mag, big old mag
lights,
zip tied to our carbines. And
wow.
You know what? They didn't make tape switches for those. So how we evolved through the kit and training, I see nowadays, and you can make it work. You just got to put the time and effort into it.
Awesome. So everyone's like going crazy over lumens. You're like, hey, bro, I did it with candelas and shit.
I'm not saying technology helps, because we're way out of that phase before I retired. Yeah, all that stuff was like, hey, we're technology does help, but it was a good training and a basis for our background of what we learned. It's like, sometimes in basic training, these guys are starting off with a name point instead of using iron sights. You got to know everything. Start from the basics, work your way up.
Yeah, and you know what? I remember having a conversation when we were at Shooter Symposium last year, where people are like, this, but this is okay. You're like, you need to know everything, right? What was that subject on? Oh, we were talking about on a carbine, red dots versus LPVOs, right?
Yes.
And you had an interesting take on that from what I remember. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? I mean, why do you need to do both? Why can't you just pick one?
In a perfect world is, hey, you should have a variety of optics for whatever your mission dictates. I think people are stuck in this, hey, I have a 1x6, 1x8, and I lay down at 400 meters, and hey, wow, look at my hit ratio increases. But hey, there's a learning curve when you take that thing up close and start poking it around barricades and vehicles at 20 meters, 10 meters. That is a learning curve depending on your eye box. And, little things I talk about using a red dot is, hey, here's my red dot. How do I line up my line of sight bore axis? Man, I lollipop that on the front sight. Well, most people in LPVO don't run front sight straight up. Mine are offset, so I can't lollipop it to make sure my line of sight bore axis is lined up, but I can use equal scope shadowing. You're always taught with a scope is, hey, no scope shadowing, take your time, squeeze the shot. We don't have time for that sometimes. And as long as I got equal scope shadowing and that dot or the reticles in the center is equal scope shadowing will equal that, I squeeze the trigger, I'm gonna get my hits. So
that's awesome.
They're not as easy to transition to as people think. Oh, I'm just gonna throw 1x6 up here. Everything's a learning curve. I correlate it to go from iron sights to a red dot on your pistol.
Yeah.
You just don't pick that up overnight. There's little tricks and nuances that you need to learn on setup and actually, hey, where's your buttstock? Where's the proper eye relief for that 1x6 to be? It has a lot to do with it. And there's a way to measure that on everybody, just based where his arm falls on the end of the carbine when he hey, reach out and touch your carbine. All right, this thing should probably be right here because not everybody's built the same.
Right, exactly. And I the thing with a 1x6, I'm going to try and do a 1x6 again. I'm buddies with the guys at Vortex, and they're going to send me out a razor and stuff like that. But I'm like, that eye box is wonky. Sometimes it's there. Sometimes I'm getting all occluded on the side, and it's like, well, the eye box is X and X and X and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, but I got a really big fucking head, man. And I got really big fucking cheeks and stuff. Does that shit change? It changes. You gotta put some time into that and take a course with you. But a little shameless plug for the both of us, man. Super stoked. When is that? We're doing it in April, right?
Yeah. We got a class together.
Yep.
April 16th, 17th, and 18th.
Bro, we're gonna.
And I know
we're gonna spend a lot of time together in April. You okay with that?
I'm good with that, Scott. I'm good with that. We get along great.
We do, bro. That's the thing, man. That's the thing. Yeah. So we got Shooter Symposium, guys. Sorry for the commercial, but whatever. Capitalism. We got Shooter Symposium 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. I'm looking most forward to? A Brokos bonfire. And then we got the joint class at the Northern Ohio Tactical Training Center. 1.5 days of me with a red dot pistol, get people spun up on core competencies and that. And then we're going to run around a bunch of cars and do urban gunfighter, man. I am so stoked. I'm going to shoot a lot, bro. I don't know if you were thinking I was going to AI for you, but I'm going to shoot a lot. So
I'm doing the same with you. I'm bringing 600 rounds a day.
There it is, man. And I'm so stoked for that, dude. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time. I do want to tell a story about Dan. It was funny. So first met at Shooter Symposium. Or actually, no, that's not true. We first met at SHOT Show last year, right?
Yep.
Briefly, we took that little promotional picture, blah blah blah. But then we got there, and for whatever reason, we hit it off, right? And I do remember it was me, you, and Jared walking out of the main house there, and I'm going, it's an awesome spread. You'd think they have a fire pit, and they didn't, right? And I go, and then you go, I don't know, man. There's a swell right over there. Somebody get me like a briquette and a twig. And next thing I know, there's a 6-foot bonfire by Dan Brokos out of nothing but a briquette and a twig, having a great time. A couple hours later, I'm looking over and you're asleep in the grass. That was some epic shit, dude.
I was guarding it for everybody in case, I think Chuck still had his night class going on. So I was going to stick around and make sure it goes there. And I think Shockey was like, hey, that's a little close to the cabin, isn't it? And I said, I didn't see a fire pit, dude. So sorry. Maybe he'll have one this year. Maybe he took the message.
What he told me that was funny, like in the last interview I did with him, was like, dude, we had a fire pit, but nobody ever used it. I'm like, dude, we don't need no fire pit. We got Dan the Nation builder over here, man. He'll make a fire. It don't matter. It don't matter, dude. And that was a great time. That was a great time. So here's the deal, Dan. So not to put you on the spot, right? But our mutual friend Drew Estelle, right? He and I were talking one time about being unique in the industry and what you particularly bring. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm a nobody. And he's like, yeah, dude. So you are not white. You don't have a beard, and you weren't special forces. You're actually very unique. Right. That said, and that's a joke, guys. That's a joke, right? But Dan, so what do you think that you bring to the table that other people in the soft units and things of that nature haven't brought before? What's your unique perspective? Please do not be humble. Let the people know what you got.
Well, I would have to say you're right. There's a lot of guys out there with my background regarding what service they're in, doing what I'm doing right now. I think very few have 26 and a half years in. Very few have taught at the schoolhouse, which, my last 2.5 years there, I was responsible for putting together POIs for the entire SOCOM community. Not saying, trust me, they're not all mine, but having the ability to pick some of the best instructors in the world out there and learn from them and interact with them on a daily basis for the 2 tours I did out at Range 37 was phenomenal for me. I'm still learning today, and the ability to cherry pick, as I would say, a lot of great drills and ideas of how you venture it, because that school has changed a lot, and it should continue to change. Times change downrange. I mean, don't change it every year, but just getting the experience out there is sort of the difference. What I bring is, I think, the maturity level, and the fact that I've been doing this job for 22 years. Started off very minimum with an 8.5 on top of a huge ass Colt musket, and progressed through that
with a Maglite duct tape to it.
Yeah, with a Maglite tape to it. And working at the schoolhouse and seeing the ins and outs of hey, when we were training 52 Green Berets and sometimes Rangers, and other entities through there, and it taught me a lot about instructing, because I keep it simple, stupid is a military term, but if you really look, is we had the opportunity to work with the Special Operations Cognitive Enhancement Program. I don't want to get in depth into fine and gross motor skills and complex motor skills. But at the end of the day, simplicity is the small tasks as an individual you got to complete to go into a huge, oh, hey, I'm in a gunfight type deal. And the 25 simple tasks in there, if you can master those, you'll be fine when shit hits the fan. I mean, and I totally believe that. And that's my training philosophy when it comes to this. Now on that is, hey, if I teach contingencies a lot of lessons, not only happen to me, but I've got several friends out there that, are missing a wing, got shot in the leg, got shot in the arm, and can only manipulate their weapon system with one hand. Oh, and by the way, his nods got blown off his helmet, so he had a white light in one arm. And you know what? His white light wasn't set up properly. And all these AER comments from friends and lessons and learned that I've taken over the years to say, hey, man, I can't tell you the only way to do some things because there's several different ways, but I can give you suggestions on what actually works, because I do believe that if it happens to you in reality, that shouldn't be the first time it happens to you. If you're training right, you should cover your contingency basis on everything. And it's not fun. Little story, when I was a team sergeant, I'd come out there and task the range out to one of the cell leaders, and hey, this is what we're working on. Today's nothing but support side carbine. I'd go out there and you'd think you have 20 meat eaters excited to train all day on the range, and people are kicking rocks and all pissed off. And I'm like, what's going on, fellas? We already know the game plan. None of our times will be the same. Why do we got to shoot on a support side all day? Hey, you know what? When it comes down to it, you're going to thank me. It's not fun. It's not sexy. Yeah, none of your drills are the same. And everybody's competitive, but put in the time of when it's uncomfortable, when the shit happens, and it won't be that uncomfortable under stress. So that's sort of in a nutshell, I think, experience and the contingency that I train, and the lessons learned over the years this separates me from everybody else.
That's awesome. So now you're teaching. Name of your company is Lead Faucet Tactical, right? Which is an awesome name. You are doing, how much are you doing between I assume you're doing mill, LE, and open enrollment, right? Actually, I know you're doing LE, and I know you're doing open enrollment. I don't know how much mill you're still doing, but that aside, what do you find, how are you adjusting to, the mill/LE side of things versus the civilian open enrollment side of things? What are you noticing to be some of the differences on the open enrollment classes from what you were used to before?
Again, I was grateful enough to, have a good mentor in this business and watch them on the range and see how you react to people that aren't in the military and LE. I would say if I didn't have that opportunity years ago, I wouldn't see it. I remember the first class, he's like, hey, don't be grabbing anybody and chewing their ass on the range and yelling and screaming at them because their time was way below the par time we're going to put out. It's not how it works here. And he was joking around, but there's a benefit to being professional on it. Guys are paying for that class. I'm going to make sure they earn every cent of that money they pay for it. But in the end, I'm going to be professional with it. And those notes, it's a slight change in how you portray yourself as a quiet professional, more with the civilians. I'm everybody grows from time and experience. Right now, I can fuck off and be a frat boy with my military side of the house.
Yeah.
And some of the LE agencies that I'm back for my second go round, and it's just, hey, come work with our team internally, and I know all those guys. Yeah, it's a little, you can joke around a little bit more, but I'm learning to do that in classes too. Just, little baby steps with that of how you present yourself. I like to have a good time on the range, but I like to take it serious. So yeah. I'm adjusting to the open enrollment classes.
Yeah,
because if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, no, it makes 100% sense. And I know some agencies love you to death, man. By the way, are you an Orange County Sheriff Deputy yet? As many times as you've been out there?
Great. I tell you, those guys are awesome out there. I don't know. I'm waiting on my badge soon. It should be in the mail. I know. I owe them some information when they get my my CD in the mail. I'm hoping I'll get my badge soon.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, man. I'm sure you do, and we'll give him a shout out. Love me some Gabe Rivera. That dude is awesome, man. Performer, yada yada. It's a bad thing he's so homely though. Like every time my wife sees that guy, he goes, "Man, he is not a good-looking guy." I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, Gabe. I'm kidding. Young stud bastard. Anyway, awesome. Cool. So what are you teaching at Shooter Symposium? I mean, I know, but I want to kind of show because I think it's 2/3 full now, but we still got some spots in there. What are you teaching at Shooter Symposium, Dan?
I'm doing a 1-day urban gunfighter, half day, half night. So it'll be good. Which in and around vehicles, 4 hours with the carbine, 4 hours with the pistol, maybe 8 to 10 hours, somewhere in that range, and then I'll get my next group in. So it's just not a teaser. We're going to train hard, but it's a day out of my 3-day POI, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Absolutely. What do you think is that mean? I don't know if you've taken other vehicle classes or seen other vehicle classes that are popular out there right now. What do you think is the difference between what you teach in the vehicle centric classes as opposed what maybe some other people are teaching from what you've seen? That's kind of a hard question, dude, because you probably don't know what those other classes POIs are. But.
I do. We did this training in the military, and the good thing about it is I think in my career we probably brought in 11 people to shoot. Barnhart, Leatham, Kyle. I mean,
we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
You learn a lot.
Yeah.
And what is out there, I don't have an issue with. There's always a different way to do it. I think what I teach differently is use the vehicle. If I'm going to be behind something, I'm not going to lose situational awareness, but close around 100 meters. I got to get my carbine. Why wouldn't I set myself up on that?
Say that again. You kind of froze up there. Last thing we heard is if I'm going to be using this thing and be around this vehicle, I might as well use it. Can you say that again? You kind of froze up.
I think the difference in the vehicle class I teach is I teach use the vehicle for support. Hug up on it. Because one, what if you're down to one arm in the fight? I'm going to put my weapon upon there to rest it if that is happening. And two is I'm going to use it to support myself. Not everything happens at 15, 20 meters. I don't care if you're an LA guy or not. You take a look at some of the bombing, the AR, when those guys got in that battle with those guys, that wasn't close. If you're at 50 to 100 meters back, I'm not going to go like this and take a shot. If I have a car in front of me, I'm going to support myself and take that shot. To me, it's, hey, how fast can I eliminate the threat? And a stable firing position is much quicker than not stabilizing yourself. If that sort of, and then you got to look at, hey, always think high, rooftops. Man, if I'm back 3 meters off that because I'm worried about ricochets, I'm exposing myself to my flanks and up top. So I just different take and how we've always treated vehicles throughout my military career is if I'm behind something, I'm going to use it for cover. That's it in a nutshell. And I get nuked all the time on, hey, get out of the death trap. Well, I tell you what, if I'm a lone state trooper on a dark road at 1 o'clock in the morning, I can get to the rear and other positions of that thing. I'm not just going to hop out of it and stand in the open. That thing will provide you some cover, and time are changing. There's a lot of LE agencies that have soft armor in the doors. So why not fight from the beat? I'm not saying right or wrong on any of that stuff, but just don't be so one-sided that you can't hear different aspect of shooting around vehicles. So that's sort of what's mine about. It's contingencies of that. And if I got 200 meters, we're going to get back to 200 meters, but predominantly we'll go 100 meters and work our way up close with those. And, starting at 50 with a pistol, I'm going to support myself. If I'm in a vehicle and I got a pistol, I'm at 50 meters away.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's interesting because that's generally the division I hear about using the vehicle versus getting the hell out of the death trap. You know what I mean? And that's usually so you're kind of you're using all available resources there, which makes me even more stoked to get to our class that we're going to be teaching together. That's going to be awesome, man. Cool. And contingencies of only having to shoot with one with one hand or one arm or whatever you have. That's awesome. That's awesome. So moving on. So moving on from there. So you got urban gunfighter. Is that probably your most popular class these days?
Yeah, that and CQB's picking up too.
And then,
CQB's
but
picking up too.
CQB, you're only doing
As
LE right now. You're only doing LE right now for CQB. Am I wrong about that?
yeah, LE or military, or if the guy, I mean, there's state government official where he's a contractor and he's an LE guy for 15, 20 years. Now he's contracting and he's working DOE security. Yeah, I mean, if you label all those guys, but no, hey, I'm a straight civilian. I want to learn how to do that. No, that's just not unfair and not safe enough right now to throw those guys into a mix like that. So yeah, it's military, LE, and government agencies right now.
Okay, fair enough. So let's get back to some of the training. You know, I'm going to guess it was mostly pistol. You mentioned, you know, the great one, Latham, the other great one, Barnhart. You know, and I know from my friends, you know, obviously you, Jose Gordon, Chris Sizelev, yada yada, that the soft units routinely bring in non-mil, non-LE guys who can just do this incredibly well. Can you talk a little bit about that and how it's affected you through your military career, training with those guys?
Yeah, you got to have an open mind because at the end of the day, my job in the military was, you know, hey, we were supposed to be the best assault force out there, and that at the pinnacle of your mission, to succeed your mission, I got to get in a gunfight at some point in time. Everything else is underneath here, but you know, the top of that pyramid of, hey, getting in a gunfight to save you or your buddy's ass, it was taken very seriously. And I tell you, those guys would come in and, hey, you know what? They didn't shoot barricades like we shot barricades for a specific reason. But just watching them shoot and dissect the fundamental of trigger manipulation was outstanding. Of, hey, you guys are thinking way too much about press and not fast enough on the release. You know, little stuff like that. And I remember when I was very young, I'm like, the fuck's he talking about? But you remember all that stuff because we in there taking notes. You know, my team starting there was back there. He'd do roll up. Hey, this is what we covered today. And, you know, at the end, I told the guys when I was bringing guys in is, hey, we're all good shooters. If you can pick up two things a day of one of the 8 fundamentals of how he articulated or how he shot it that's different than what we were taught, then take that, put it in your box, and you'll be a much better shooter over the years with it. And some of that, there's different schools of thought of how far do you stick your trigger finger in the trigger. To this day, it was always, I grew up saying, hey, the base of the pad right here. And then you get in Jerry and Kyle and they're like, sink that thing all the way in, creates a fulcrum. I'm much more accurate that way at distance. I go up close, I get a little bit more on the pad, but at distance, and I'm sinking that thing all the way in. Now, is that right or wrong? I don't know. It's open for debate. It's all how you shoot. And some dudes didn't adopt it. I chose to adopt it. Some of the other guys, and I think it works, and I'll agree with that today. You know, there's also we always taught 2 levels of focus with iron sights. Well, we brought in one of those guys, and it just changed to 3. As everybody's taught, hey, front sight focus. Well, man, stand at 7 meters on in and focus 80% at the target, and you reference your sights, you'll be able to see the entire target. Your sights and hand will be an outline. Just imagine that if you could see somebody going for a knife or a gun, if you switch your focus to your target.
That's right.
You'll be able to shoot like that. That's the first level focus, 2 and 3, and the course distance, crystal clear front and rear. This was all mapped out in the military for us, and you bring these guys in and they like that, and it's benefited to hear that term. It's benefited in the schoolhouse of what was put out, because it was my turn to come in there and say, hey, no, guys, we need to run this drill for this reason because of this fundamental. I had a chance to implement it, and I thank all those guys I've listened to over the years and brought in to do that stuff. And, awesome. You know, to each their own of what they put out.
So one of the things that
and I don't think this. I don't think it's industry. I'm glad there's a lot of people out there. That's what I always told the guys is everybody articulates and does something different. You got to find what works for you. But the more you hear of it, the better off you're going to be. And that's how I correlate sort of my success in shooting is to listen to all these different people, teach it a different way. And I picked up what works for me. Now, national world champions out there, that's probably the right way to do some shit if you really want to become a good shooter. You should probably pick up a third level of focus at some point in time, but then you switch to your expertise in red dot. I have no level of focus. I do, but it changes things. Add something else to the equation, another tool in the box that we can add to our repertoire of shooting, whether it's iron sights or red dot or LPVO for carbon.
Yep, absolutely. Did training with those guys change your take and what you look at as far as speed? Because here's the deal, dude. I mean, obviously, we're friends. I subscribe to your Instagram channel, which is always awesome. And you had a drill you were running. What was it? It was paper B8, steel, steel, steel. And I'll say it for you. You burned it the fuck down, right?
I appreciate that. My pro timer broke, so I couldn't post the drill, but I just posted it anyway.
You don't need a timer to know that was smoking, dude. I mean, what your buddy went? What did he say? Go.
Yeah.
He's like, go. You go up or bust them. He said, go. And it was awesome. I'm like, okay. So where did that speed come from, Dan? Did that come from things you learned from Latham or Barnhart? What realization went through your head to do that? Because I've seen a lot. There's a lot of LE out there. I've met a lot of Mill. God bless him and stuff like that. But there's almost like an anti-speed thing out there. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you gotta train it just as much as you train accuracy. At the end of the day, accuracy does outweigh speed. But if you're not out there pushing yourself with your peers and me, my teammates, of hey, let's run a bill drill today. How fast can we actually get this thing in before my target looks like a damn shotgun compared to this? Because I do think, hey, if I can train right here, in reality, I'm going to be right here. If I train out here, in reality, I'm going to be right here. But you got to push the speed a lot. There's some good videos out there of, I just saw it on YouTube, and I'll send it to you after this, of the officer coming up to a guy, and he pulled out a gun, he smacked it away, and
dude, I saw that.
Dude, put 3 rounds in him easily. Yeah, easily. That's an awesome draw. Now, would have that guy survived if he didn't draw and practice like that? That's how you got to articulate things. He'd be done. He'd be done, because that guy, he smacked, and by the time he deflected that pistol, he'd draw and put 3 or 4 rounds into him. If he didn't practice that guy would have just one hand just indexed right on him.
And
so
the other thing,
that speed from the draw, carbine, indexing up.
Yep. The other thing I was impressed about.
Go ahead, Scott, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good to go, bro. The other thing I was impressed about that is the concept of sooner, not faster, right? And if you watch him, he knew the guy was squirrely, and he was at what Ernest Langdon calls scared ready the whole time, man. Hand was on the gun. Professional, nice, please get your hands in the pocket. But the minute he saw that gun, so John Correa, Active Self-Protection, he just released an analysis on that today and timed it from the time the guy produced the pistol with the slap in the first shot, 106.
That's smoking.
Bro, that would have been smoking for a draw. Everybody knows I love the sub-second shit, dude. But a slap and a draw to first shot in 106? Oh, dude, that's some serious kung fu. That's some serious kung fu, man.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, a draw's not that important. When it's important, it's fucking important.
I agree. It's one of those aspects you gotta work on. I know what you're getting at, because I've been told, hey, if you're pulling out your pistol, you're probably too late if it's not already out from the holster. I never got trapped in that. There's a valid point there, and you don't know when you're going to have to draw that thing, and your life depends on it. I mean, out of any circumstance, you don't know when you're going to have to grab your carbine out of the vehicle and get that thing in configuration to where it needs to be soon. To me, that's not a contingency. That's just training the mentality and the right way to do it. I mean, go out to the range one day and work on your sub-second draws, then go out the next day and shoot 25-meter bulls. You got to change it up, but speeds it's an important aspect.
Yep, you absolutely do. Everybody knows, man, that I hate fucking shooting B8s, but I do it every single time I train, because you know what I hate more than shooting B8s? I hate someone being able to shoot B8s better than me. Right?
Yeah, that's a mentally challenging drill. I usually start and end it with either a B8, the 10 rounds, 20 seconds, or just 10 rounds slow aim fire, both with carbine pistol. My pistol one's at 50 meters, same target, 10 rounds, 20 seconds. And I hate shooting them, but it mentally challenges, and you got to do it.
It does. It's that focus and that discipline, man. Like my B8s, I mean, my B8s have been getting better and better, but most of my shit looks like 8 10s, 1 9, and a low 8. And that low 8's the last shot going, my God, I'm fucking bored. And I just let's get out of this bad boy. You know, it's a 95.
Mine's usually about, shot 6 or 7. Then I'll I knew it, having a good run, just rip it, and then I'll just be like, whatever. I'll take my 90.
Exactly.
Let's move on.
Awesome. All right, brother. So, and I just want to go over one thing, right? For those of you that are watching this on YouTube, you'll see, Dan obviously S up, but he's got a RLTW shirt on, which stands for Rangers Lead the Way. You want to tell these guys why the hell you have a Ranger shirt on?
Got to support the family. My boy's currently a Ranger right now, so I buy swag every time I get a chance. Support him.
That's awesome, man.
And I love those guys. He's
That's
37.
awesome.
They came through both sides of the schoolhouse too. They're great units and great young kids.
That's awesome, dude. When this is done and I get the recording, I'm going to take a picture of the screen and send it to Jose Gordon. So he'll love that, dude. He was like, so it's like, oh, hey, man, so you're part of that shooter symposium, right? Everybody knows he's a mentor of mine. He only lives 40 minutes away from me and stuff. And he goes, so, Dan Brokos is in there. You're probably going to meet him at SHOT, right? I go, I hope so. He goes, here's the deal, man. Dan is either going to like you or he's not. Don't try and influence it. Don't just be you, man. Just be you. Whatever happens, happens, bro. Right? So then we took that little shot for Shooter Symposium shot, right? And you got your arm around me, right? And when we posted that, Jose, Jose was at SHOT, but he called me. He's like, good job, dude. Good job. So awesome. All right, brother. Well, we're coming up on the 44-minute mark. I try and keep these to about an hour, man. So let's get to the final thing, the last segment that everybody loves, the get it off your chest segment. Okay, it can be about anything you want to get off your chest, the industry, your time in the military, teaching, whatever about getting better. What can people do to start getting better, or what do they need to stop doing to get better? Floor is yours, my friend.
Get it off your chest. I like this segment, Scott. This being my first podcast, I'm going to go like this.
All right.
Get the fuck over my carbine barrel sticking in the dirt sometimes, because it's going to happen. It's an old military LE faux pas. My carbine can never touch the ground. Why is that? Well, you know how the military tests flash suppressors? You stick them halfway up the dirt, and you know what's going to happen? It's going to Christmas tree. Your ballistics won't change. You'll probably be the first guy to get shot at, but sometimes there's a time and place to put your carbine in the dirt, like a one-hand malfunction clearance behind a piece of cover. What the hell are you going to do with your muzzle? I'll stick it in sand all day long. I'll stick it in concrete all day long. I'll stick it in grass all day long. If you sink that thing past the flash suppressor and you're laying in mud, yeah, I would advise not to do that. But ain't nothing wrong with putting your muzzle on the ground if you're behind a vehicle and you got to do some malfunction clearances, like driving that thing in the ground. There's a couple different ways to clear a stuck casing. Don't always have to mortar it. Put your barrel on something, both hands on my charging handle, drive that thing back. Or, hey, how do I clear a stuck casing, a double feed with one arm? I ain't gonna hold that thing there. I'm gonna put that muzzle on the ground, put it against my chest, clear it out, lock the bolt to the rear, see what I got to do, and go on with it. That's it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be walking around putting your muzzle on the ground, but sometimes there's a need for it. There really is, and you're not gonna blow your gun up unless you stick it all the way into the mud. A little bit of dirt, a little bit of sand, nothing wrong with it on concrete. Ain't gonna hurt anything, fellas. I just say that it is viable to say that, but I get nuked every time I put a picture of me on Instagram I had a suppressor on this one. I was teaching a class up in PA, and I was doing a one-handed malfunction around a vehicle, and I'm on my knees with my suppressor in the dirt, and it was, this guy shouldn't be an instructor, let alone have a carbine in his hand. Well, you didn't know the drill, fellas. You did.
Yeah, shit out of context.
It's all good. It's all good. I'm sort of joking around it, but it is. It's reality. If you train that way with some of these, hey, I was never. This is the wrong way to do things. Hey, open up your mind. Think outside the box. That's what I did over for the years, and seek training. If you show me how to clear a double feed behind a piece of cover without putting your muzzle into the ground, I'd like to see it.
Nice. Just don't put it on your foot, or put it in
Yeah,
your
just don't put it on your foot. I didn't say anything about flagging anybody. Safety never goes away. Nobody outranks sergeant safety. But you think outside the box once in a while, because you know what? I'd rather get that malfunction cleared in about 25 seconds than wave it in the air for 2 minutes when your life's on the line.
Yeah.
So have an open mind.
Have you seen that new video going around? I don't know what part of the Middle East it is, but if that and I don't know if he's trying to clear an AK or something like that, and as he's trying to clear it, he looks down the barrel and boom, head canoe.
Oh,
Have you seen
yeah.
that video?
Yep.
If he would have put his muzzle on the ground, it probably would have went a lot better for him, right?
Exactly. That's
Options.
There you go.
Right. What else? What else, man? There's got to be something else out there.
Not really. I love what I'm doing. I honestly believe that the more friends you can have in this industry, we're in the same line of work. I've got several friends out there in the same line of work. Learn from each other and grow. Nothing. That's why I like Shooter Symposium is you sit down and bullshit and bounce everything off each other and just have a good time with it. Because at the end of the day, why have enemies in this industry? I've got friends and several other ones that
be positive, Dan. Is that what you're saying?
I am.
Be positive.
I'm saying be positive. Be a sponge. Be a sponge. People articulate things a different way, and there's great examples out there. Bring as many people as you can in, because if you could pick one or two, I'd rather pick one or two things from 20 people than 2 people and call that way. And you know what? There is no book on the secrets to shooting, because if there is, let me know. I'll read the damn thing. But whoever wrote it, that's one opinion. There's about 10 opinions on shooting, and I suggest everybody out there gather as much information as you can. You determine what's right or wrong, but gather the right folks, because they got the experience and they know what they're talking about when it comes down to that.
Absolutely. So Dan, where can they find you, man? Talk to us about IG, your website, YouTube, all that other stuff, man. Where can people find you to come train with you?
Well, we got the best place to go is www.leadfaucettactical.com. It's just me and Juice running the show, but the website's pretty good. Under training, it has my calendar for the whole year, Scott, under that, all the way through next December, where the class is, location, and what type of class it is. That's going to be run, and especially look at that April class. We should all see in Ohio. In Ohio, O2A did post that class for us. So we should be good, and looking forward to doing shooting and training up there.
A lot of people are excited about that, man. A lot of people are excited about that. So Awesome. Yeah. So for other people that want to see what Dan's about, Lead Faucet Tactical on Instagram. You post once, at least twice a day or stuff like that on there. Good stuff there. You got a YouTube channel too, don't you?
Yeah, we're way behind on that. So that's coming. We got some plans this year. As I sort of backed off the class a little bit before Cosmo into the company, and
Yep.
I hate to say the word marketing, but just doing videos for myself and getting them out there for people to see some of the things I'm doing out there.
It's so hard for you guys as quiet professionals, man, to do the marketing and stuff. Right.
It
That's
is.
I got you, man. Just do it. Just do it.
Juice
Blame
is
me.
on me. I got it. No, she rides me, and she's smart, and she runs everything. So I'm on it. We're gonna.
Dude, where would we be
Lessons learned from
without?
this year. Let's.
Yeah. Where would we be without the women, man? I will tell you what, dude. I will tell you what, man. Juice does for you what Bev does for me, man, and it, it's an incredible benefit. Incredible. Actually, most of the successful dudes in this industry have their women supporting them in it. I mean, I can't think of. I can think of one dude, but whatever. uh, awesome. Some real
I think
quick.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. So some other things I want people to know about you, right? So we talked about the Brokos belt a little bit. You've got a minimalist sling that is very, very awesome. You've got some magazine base pads. What else am I missing there? The
Some
foregrip hand stop.
Yeah, I call a little hand stop brace, some light accessories, sling swivels. We got 6 more products coming out this year, so everything's lessons learned or products from me and my teammates over the years that I like designing. I got a whole notebook full of ideas, but you got to start small and build them.
Yeah, man. So I got the stuff behind me on the bench. Can throw that on the carbine. Yes, internet. I know. I do shoot carbines. It's okay. Relax. It's relaxed. So anyway, good stuff, brother, man. Super appreciate this being your inaugural podcast out there on the internet, man. I've learned a lot from you in the short time that we have known each other. Not so much because I've never taken a class from you, which I will soon rectify, but just the way you handle yourself and the way you engage with people that need to be engaged. That's an inside joke too, man. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, good stuff, brother. So anyway, super appreciate you, brother. Keep on doing what you're doing, man. Can't wait to see you soon here. And then me and Bev got to get down to Southern Virginia and hang out with you guys, dude. But February through October, man. I know you're the same way looking at the calendar, man. It's going to be the worldwide tour starts, right? So,
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. But we'll link up. We'll link up in April, Scott, and
yeah, dude.
We'll figure it out from there. We aren't that far apart now. I appreciate you having me on the show, and you guys make sure you guys check out Scott as well. Modern Samurai Project, and I look forward to working with you in April.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time, guys. Yep, check out Dan, guys, and more importantly than any of that, be good, stay safe, get training.